going to review, to start with a roll call and then review the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? In which case I will ask for a motion to approve.
I motion to approve.
Thank you, Jessica. Anybody second? And can we have a vote call?
I second.
Okay. All say aye.
I
Aye.
approve.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you, Marty, for taking the minutes. I know it's not an easy job most of the time, all the time, actually.
glad to do it.
Okay, so, Michael, would you post the agenda, please?
Sorry, post the agenda?
Yes, please.
Like you mean share my screen and share it that way?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. Let me pull it up 1 second.
Okay. So someone tell me what's next on the agenda. I don't have my phone with me to look it up. What is on the agenda next?
The January 16th event review of marketing efforts.
That's what I thought. Okay, so I will tell you that I've had a chance to look at our participants or people who registered as of last Thursday. And so far, there are 38 people, including some, but not all of us. So any one of you who hasn't signed on, please do. We have several, I have reached out, we'll talk about marketing in a minute, but having reached out to about 10 of our local municipalities, all of which signed on to the Montgomery County resolution. I've gotten pretty good interest from the town of Chevy Chase, several of whom have signed on, Kensington, town of Kensington, Friendship Heights, and I believe Chevy Chase Village. So we have some really good participation from local neighborhoods. I'm going to send out a reminder again to those who may not have paid enough attention during the holiday. So I think 38 participants at this point is not too bad, but I really do want to do more to market our event in the next couple of weeks. So Daria, I know that you created a spreadsheet that people were to sign on to as to their effort in marketing this. Have you gotten any feedback from anybody so far?
No, I just checked. I'm the only one on there.
Okay,
And my husband did suggest when he read the village notes that we not, maybe the term marketing is like the wrong connotation, just more advertising. Like marketing, it sounds like you're trying to sell something.
Yeah, I think publicity is a better term. I agree with that.
so
Yeah.
what word would you prefer?
Publicizing.
Publicizing, that's it.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense to me. So can we go around the table and talk about how we might want to publicize this event further? Remember, the capacity of the Zoom event is 1,000. We have no ambition to reach that high, but I think to do it justice, given how little the local neighborhoods have done, even though they signed on to the county's resolution, is astounding, even though, as Arthur pointed out to me, forwarded me a couple of emails from Kensington folks who have experienced in their neighborhood some anti-Semitic activity, for lack of a better word. They're suddenly realizing that they need something. Every other neighborhood is done, as they say in Yiddish, babkas. So
That's a great word.
one of my favorite words. It's not babka, as I tell my grandson, it's babkas. But so what else can we do, what each of us can do to publicize this event so that we have the numbers that we can accommodate on that evening?
Well, first, I wouldn't be concerned if we don't get 1,000, and having done.
No,
webinars
I'm
over the
not.
years.
No, not at all.
Did we,
Just have 100.
did you tell all the different communities about it and ask them to publicize it?
Yes, that's what I've just said. Yes, yes.
Oh, and they haven't, wow,
Town
They
of Chevy
have.
Chase has. Town of Chevy Chase definitely has.
they
And
Yeah.
have,
I looked at their weekly town updated and the event is there and it's near the top. It's not in like gold stars or anything, but
Right,
it's
it's
very, very
there,
visible
yeah.
there. Yeah.
And we've gotten about a half a dozen folks from the town of Chevy Chase who've signed on. I think Kensington has too. Yeah, so I have reached out to each of their main folks and asked them to publicize it. And I'm gonna do a follow-up to that.
Has
So the
Martin's
question-
Edi- Go ahead, sorry.
No, you go ahead, Helen.
Has the Martin's Edition newsletter, could it feature it on Friday in a big box or something?
Yes, yes. I hope that you've seen it.
And Arthur put a
Okay.
nice note about it in the newsletter that just came out.
Yes.
And Arthur, thank you for doing that. I thought that what you said was very nice and will probably help, spur more people to sign up. So thank you, Arthur.
And I'm gonna reach out to some of my other neighbors and just jot their memories about it. Sometimes people don't pay enough attention to the newsletter. So if each of us can do the same,
Please.
forward
No, one thing
Michael's
that could help here-
newsletter and make sure that everybody in the village is paying attention to this.
Well, that's what I want to suggest, Nomi, is that we had talked at the last meeting about having the street captains distribute something like, toward the end of this week or early next week, like, a week before the event, which would be the event's on the 16th, so we need to have something out like on the 9th. Anyway, and Michael had said that he could do a flyer or could print one if we give him one. And I know, Michael, you're leaving tomorrow, so I guess Aaron will do the flyer. But I am more than happy to call Keith tomorrow. I just talked to him today. Keith Allen from the Community Engagement Committee, which is the folks who supervise the street captains. And if we can get a flyer out to the street captains this weekend for whatever, Friday or Saturday, Sunday this weekend to walk it around. I know we're supposed to have some snow, but apparently not a whole lot. So that is an option to actually have a flyer up. But the committee would probably need, the task force would probably need to vote to do that. And I'm more than happy to convey the message if we decide that we do want the street captains to walk it around to every address.
I don't think we need to vote on it.
Yeah.
Just saying. What does everybody else think about that idea?
That's a
Depends
good
on the
idea.
schedule. I was about to say schedule of the block captains, frankly, and if they want to do that, frankly.
Yeah, that's
that-
that's what Marty's saying is a street, block captains. Yeah.
And
Marty,
we
we
could-
couldn't hear you. You need to be a little closer to your
the mic.
microphone.
Okay,
Yeah.
here we go. I said that if we want to involve the street captains, I will be more than happy to ask Keith to activate them. If we have a flyer ready for them to pick up for this weekend, I think people would be mostly willing to walk it around. I can't speak for all the captains, but I'm one of them. And I think that's very doable. But I do think that we as a task force need to ask the Community Engagement Committee to do that. I mean, we should have some kind of request on record, just, before we go and ask that committee to activate their team.
Well, Marty, if you don't mind representing us when you call Keith, I would appreciate it. I'm going to be on the road tomorrow, so I'm not able to commit myself to it, but that would be on our behalf, that would be good. Unless somebody objects, is that something everybody's comfortable with on the committee? On the
Yeah.
task force? Okay,
Yes, yeah.
Sounds like
and Michael
unanimous to
is,
me.
Aaron prepared to do that by the weekend?
Yes, we can be. We already prepared a flyer as well as the write-up. The write-up went out as a separate standalone email, as well as in the newsletter. It'll be in the wrap-ups, I believe, the next 2 weeks.
Good,
And I believe we have a separate standalone email scheduled to go out as well before the 16th.
thank you.
And again,
That's-
that's linking people to register. It's not linking people to the direct link to the webinar.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
people
that's, yeah,
people might not realize they need to register. The problem with the print flyer is they have to go then type in the website to register.
yeah, yeah. That
So-
goes without saying.
So if you want me to direct Erin to print off a bunch of those flyers, I can go ahead and have her do that tomorrow. No problem.
Okay, thank you so much.
And I will go ahead and contact Keith and activate the team of street captains. And let's see what we can do in terms of walking around.
Good. Any other suggestions? I know some of us have contacts at our respective religious communities, synagogues mostly. While I feel that it would be really lovely to have as many non-Jewish people as Jewish people, it would be really good to reach out to our respective synagogues. But I'm wondering what all of you thinks about that.
Yeah, I just signed up on Dara's Google Doc for Or Kodesh. So I'll reach out to Or Kodesh, and if there are any street captains that are unable or unwilling to pass out flyers on their street, I'm happy to do it on any street that needs it.
Thank you.
I'm putting you on my list. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks for
Nate.
that, Nate, because actually the street captain for your street, Quincy Street, as well as Oxford Street has just resigned. And on top of that, we have 2 other streets that don't have current street captains. The Community Engagement Committee is planning to meet later this month on the 17th, which will probably be discussing that and adding, or hopefully adding additional street captains. But we might need people to fill in for those 4 streets.
Which 4 streets
Okay.
are we missing, Michael? Which 4 streets are we missing?
Off the top of my head, I believe it's Summit, Oxford, Quincy, and I'm forgetting what the 4th one is.
I can help out with Summit and any other streets. I'm on Delafield. Any other streets that need. My 11-year-old son needs lots of activities, so he'd be happy to hand out flyers.
All right,
Fantastic.
so maybe Dara, maybe you and I can split whatever's left over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
I'll let you guys know after I talk to Keith. So Dara and Nate, thank you both.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, we want as much VMA participation as possible, although it'd be really good to get also a presence from other communities because it will show that we're collaborating with them, which is part of our mission.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Nomi, for continuing to reach out. Katie, you had talked at the last meeting about having the churches put this stuff in their Christmas time bulletins. Do you know if anybody did that? Did Blessed Sacrament do that?
Am I off mute now? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I found that most of their deadlines were earlier in the month. But we can still reach out to listservs and with more of the school populations, which will be a grand population. So school has been out of session, but I can follow up with the 2 schools listservs that my daughters attend, which are MCPS schools, and see if they'll post it there.
Okay.
Will Blessed Sacrament do anything, do you think?
Their their deadlines are more on a month. I can see if we can get in something in the January issues. But I will circle back on that. Yeah.
Thanks, Katie.
Sure.
Anybody else with suggestions of what they can do and what we should do? Any other synagogues that we can reach out to besides Or Kodesh?
I can't do honest. We've been working on this whole Israel project and I can't ask them to put anything in the newsletter.
I'm
Um,
happy to reach out to people within the DC Federation who I'm connected to.
Okay,
So I've got a
Um,
group of people that are a group of young people that I'm involved with, and I will reach out to the Young DC Federation folks.
What
Good.
is that DC Federation for the notes, Jessica?
Just the DC cabinet for a federation.
Well, I need to know how to write it down. What is it the Federation of?
DC cabinet as in like a cabinet of drawers for
Are you saying
federation.
like CC is in Chevy Chase?
CABINET. CABINET for federation.
But
For
what is
the-
it?
The Jewish Federation of Greater Washington, is that it, Jess?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Nathaniel.
Okay, that's what I need to know, what we were talking about. Cabinet
Sorry.
of the Jewish Federation of Washington.
and is Sue Weiss going to be one of the presenters?
yes,
Naomi?
yes.
So I could, she's a member of Kol Shalom and as am I, and I can totally ask them to put something in about it if you want.
Yes, that would be lovely. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay.
She's been wonderful to work with.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
She's
it's the
very
flyer.
happy.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
No, no.
She's very happy with our progress so far and was really impressed that we were reaching out to other neighborhoods. It really
Did you
made her happy.
Great. Did you say you reached out to Somerset?
Yes, it's among them, but follow up. I haven't heard back from them.
I have a few people there. I could try to push a little bit.
Good. Okay.
And it looks like David Krakoff from the AJC has just joined us.
Hello, David.
Hi,
So nice to see you.
very nice to see you too, and all of you.
Another neighbor on my block I never see except on Zoom. What
I
is
ran
that?
into you on the street.
So we're talking about publicizing the January 16th event and training webinar by AJC, sponsored by the VMA. And we were talking about how to publicize it. I started off by saying that I've reached out to 10 neighboring municipalities and we've gotten some good feedback from some of them, especially town of Chevy Chase and Friendship Heights and Kensington. And we're just talking about where else to reach out for people beyond our own neighborhood. So if you have any suggestions of how we can publicize this, we have 38 so far. Sue was happy with that, but we have many miles to go since the capacity is 1,000. Not that we think we will reach 1,000, but can we get a couple of hundred is my hope to justify this wonderful speakers. So any thoughts you have, chime in when you have a chance.
Sure. Well,
Okay,
I, excuse me, I can reach out to Washington Hebrew and see if they will put something in their bulletin. Their bulletin comes out weekly. So that's a possibility.
yeah. And I assume you can just forward our flyer that Michael has created, which is what I've done. And it's pretty easy for people to click on. Yeah. Unless you
Okay.
prefer a hard copy flyer, but yeah.
Well, the bulletin is both hard copy and electronic. So I
Okay,
should probably send both.
okay. That would be good. So we'd have Or Kodesh, Hebrew Congregation, and Adat Shalom. Adat Shalom is that what you were saying, Janet?
Kol Shalom,
Kol
KOL
Shalom.
Shalom.
Yeah,
And
Kol
it
Shalom.
would help if we could get a hard copy also, because we could maybe hand them out, have them out there for services on Shabbat.
So here's the thing. Is there a possibility that they can print it out on their own?
Oh,
'Cause-
sure, sure.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, okay, rather than us doing that. Okay,
yeah, definitely.
all right.
So I've sent it to Bethel. And the Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School, I put it in their newsletter too.
Okay,
Wonderful.
I think the challenge will be for parents with young children that it's at 7 p.m. on the day after a long weekend. So just in terms of hedging the population of people who tune in, I think that'll affect things.
I understand. Yeah, we can't really adjust it was up to the AJC folks, and they had some choices about whether to do it later in the evening. But I think 7 to 8 is what they settled on. Anybody else with some ideas of marketing this?
I have a question, Nomi. This is Marty. Will it be recorded and can people sign in and hear the recording or watch the video recording afterwards? Is that going to be an option?
That's a really good question. I'll ask Sue. They're organizing this. They're, monitoring, they're doing the whole thing with the registration and reporting back to me on a regular basis. I will ask her.
Thank you.
Yeah. On a related topic, I had this idea that we should invite some neighbors or friends, preferably maybe people who are not necessarily Jewish, or maybe people of a different Jewish stripe who might watch it with us so that we can have a discussion thereafter. I don't know if it's something, I still don't know whether it's something we can add to the Zoom invitation, but I wanted to suggest that to all of you, especially those of you who are reaching out to neighbors and friends, and think about having more than just you and your significant other or whoever you are with to watch it together, because I think it could lend to a discussion thereafter. So my question to you, is that a good idea? And if it is, should we put together some kind of a guide for questions? Marty came up with some ideas that she found online. I could ask AJC if they have. David, do you know whether AJC has discussion questions that they post online that they could share with us?
I think in the materials I think there are. I'm really not sure.
Okay, I'll ask. So this has been a couple of weeks when AJC has been off, so she's had only limited access to the staff, and I will ask her about it. I will share it with the rest of you, and you can decide whether you want to do this or not, whether you want to suggest that to your contacts, and whether you want to host your own neighbors for a discussion afterwards. What did AJC, what did you learn? What didn't you learn? What are some of the controversial issues, et cetera, et cetera. And there may be some questions that we will send along for to guide you in the discussion.
I'm not sure if this is, I'd want to be very careful about any discussion about Gaza and the war right now, because I think we're very enmeshed in this and finding it, it's challenging in workplaces, it's challenging among colleagues. There's all sorts of different opinions, and things sort of change every day. If you're not historically rooted, and I think you need somebody who's leading this, who is pretty well informed to make this work. And it's pretty dicey right now. So
Yeah,
I just
it
think
is.
it has to be done pretty carefully.
Yes.
I would second that opinion. This is Marty again. Helen, I agree with you. The questions that I circulated earlier to the task force were specifically guided sessions with mediators at each of the groups that had
Yeah.
those discussion circles. And the mediators had been, obviously very experienced in sort of keeping things focused so that it didn't get into a debate about, it would be like not a two-sided debate, but a 17-sided debate about
Yeah.
what's going on in Gaza and all that.
Yeah.
And so keeping it focused on anti-Semitism as an issue locally, and what can we do, I think is much more pragmatic than opening it up into a discussion of the war, which is just, as Helen said, I think could be very divisive and could really, blow up in our faces in some ways that would not be helpful to our goal, which is to build community, not to divide community.
Right. Right.
And so I think that having a skilled mediator, and we do have some, I mean, Montgomery County has free mediators. So if somebody wanted to do a mediated discussion, the county has free mediators. And I could help put people in touch with that group. But we do need to be careful here because this could boomerang, I think. So Helen, I take your point very seriously.
Right. So I actually think we should keep it simple to start with. It's a webinar. It's a lecture, as it were. There may be some opportunities for questions, but not a whole lot of discussion thereafter. And we can decide as a task force if and how to follow up.
Yeah, we've been talking about street conversations, and I was waiting till my neighbor's new baby was out and settled. But that's another way to follow up.
Right. Actually, I
Well,
think I'm not sure that we're really trying to convince anybody, but rather to help people understand anti-Semitism further and to help people figure out how to respond to it, how to discuss it with their family, etc. I'm not sure that we need to negotiate discussions about it, because even in my own mind, I have fraught discussions. Yeah. And I'm Israeli, so enough said. Yeah. So
I think it's inevitable that there will be questions and discussion, and therefore discussion about Gaza.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that this is what we're living in right now, and it would surprise me if there aren't questions like that. I know we've discussed that at HAC and people who are on the Antisemitism Task Force. So I just think that that's just to be realistic, and I'm confident that Sue will be quite adept at dealing with that. But I do think that it's something that is dicey when you're talking to neighbors who, you may be very close friends with, you may be, moderate friends with. I have a lot of neighbors around me who I'm friendly with, but they're not people who I socialize with, and I don't know exactly where they're coming from, but I can imagine that some do not share my views. I have a kidnapped sign on my door, and I'm sure that some of my neighbors think, or just come from a different place. So it's if we're going to be inviting neighbors over, I think we just need to be aware of that. That a lot of people are not going to be coming from the same place we are.
yeah, for sure. Even within our own families. Yes, for sure.
I want to say, David, I very much appreciate your sign, so thank you for having it up there. But relatedly, I think that it should be at the discretion of each committee member or whomever to decide
Mhm.
whether they would like to host their neighbors, their friends, whomever it may be.
Exactly.
And then things can go from there. And I think that making it something that's mandated might lead to something more fraught potentially, or
No,
Can't
there's
do-
nothing mandated about any of this. No
so,
intention there.
okay, well,
Just a suggestion. But even then, I retract it.
It's
up to
America, we
you all.
can't mandate anything.
No, we're not, we're not into mandating,
Freedom.
nothing. Nothing about us is about mandating. Yeah. Yeah, no. Okay, so any other thoughts about how to publicize this so that we get at least some education, some awareness out there in the community, beyond our own Jewish community?
Was something put in the box by Brookville Market?
I was just gonna ask that, Michael, Michael, manages the box in front of the market. There's a board there. We have our own VMA board. We also have one outside the market. Well, that's more of a community board. There's one in the Olympia. There's also one at the Gazebo Park over at Section 3. So those are all places we could put flyers. And I had a suggestion. I don't know if this would work, but the return of the farmers market is this Saturday, and Saturday morning sees a lot of foot traffic, between 9 and 1 there. I don't know if any of you would be available or if anyone would want to hand out flyers then, because then you reach a lot of the different municipalities. Just a suggestion. And I'm married to a street captain, and he will deliver the flyers to his designated street. So just wanted to report on that.
Is anyone
What's stri-
afraid, when we were on the phone with AJC, there's the issue of your Zoom call being compromised, bomb the expression? And is there any issue, that's why you have to, you have to register, we're not gonna give out Zoom link. Is there any issue about, not the block captains, but putting it up in anything that's a public place? Is there any concern about access to the, David, do you think AJC would have any concern?
I honestly don't know. And how would the link be compromised? What it would be like?
Well, you're
Like
giving.
someone could go to the link and
Sign it.
someone who's not there for the session but wants to say speak out against what we're doing or say something anti-Semitic. So there's definitely a risk of that, but first of all, the worst case scenario is just like a verbal attack on us, which is too bad. But I think that AJC expects us to publicize it, and they're using the registration as a way to manage, I think, reasonably manage that risk.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the reason that we decided on a webinar is because I and the speaker are the only ones that have access to the microphone. If people want to ask questions, they can do that on a chat. They can't interrupt the proceedings.
Right.
Okay, that's the reason we decided on that format. So we're not interrupted.
That sounds
But that
good,
has been
Naomi.
a concern.
That sounds like a good plan.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's gonna be plenty
Right.
of just lecturing and then questions and answers on chat. Yeah. And that's one way they will screen the questions and the comments. Okay. Any other thoughts about the January 16th event? Do we really need to meet before then? I don't see a need. I think I can send you updates along the way and encourage you to keep publicizing it.
I agree.
But other than that, I think we're okay before then.
agreed.
Okay. So on to the next
Before we
Agenda
move
item?
on, Naomi, before we
What?
move on, this is Marty.
Yeah,
I just wanted to check in. Do we want to set our next meeting to discuss after the webinar? I'm just
well,
thinking.
that's the fifth
That's
item
number
on the
5.
agenda.
Okay, I'll hold off. Thanks.
Okay. So the next issue is a survey questions. Which Jessica has generously offered to create. And one thought I had is that it was supposed to be a needs assessment. And now we're going ahead with given the pressing turn of event, to schedule something on the 16th of January. And the question before in my mind is, if we're going to do a needs assessment as our mission statement calls for, what do we do? We can't do it before the 16th. We can't do it before the 16th. What do we want to know after our January 16th event? Just generally speaking, what do we want to know from the community about their needs, their aims for learning about this issue? Or do we not need to ask any further, having offered this training program? Do we want to know what else do they want? Do we want to know how to direct them further into action? What do we want to know from them after this January 16th event?
Well, I think, Naomi, that given the number of people who've signed up, and we're not going to have necessarily the ability to completely cross-reference who has or who hasn't attended, because the survey is optional in terms of them, not only people participating in the survey, but then also subsequently giving us their email addresses to help us identify them. So I think that there could be a variety of issues at play. I think we just treat this as it is. And given the relatively small N, I mean, that's my opinion because of just the issues with regards to just making sure that you have compatibility between samples, and we don't necessarily have that capacity.
Okay, so given that, does anybody else have any comments about that? And then we can go on to Jessica's questions, which she has created for us to review.
Where are the questions? I can't find them.
We haven't posted them yet.
Oh, so then it's hard to just, okay.
Yeah.
Have the people on the task force seen the questions? Because I didn't get a chance to see them, and maybe that was because I missed something.
That's what I was asking.
I sent out an updated version today. Marty, there weren't many changes. It was just a few. We added in 1 or 2 more questions. And we changed some of the language, but it was not a major change.
Are you
Because
able to post, are you able to show them on screen? Are you able to share them? Jessica?
I can't share my screen right now because I had to move to my phone because my computer died and I'm waiting for it to get back up there. But I sent out the email this afternoon, so I don't know if someone else has it. I'm happy to go and like cross-reference with my phone right now.
But Jessica, could you send them to us? We've never gotten them. We're not on the task force, but we asked.
Michael, did you get them? Jessica, did you send it to Michael?
I don't know if I sent it to Michael. Let me forward it to Michael right now. 1 second. Michael, what is your email? Sorry, I'm on my phone. It doesn't have the ability to search so much.
manager@martinseditions.org.
Manager. That's why it didn't come up. Manager. There it is. I was looking for Michael. It's like I'm not seeing you. There you go. I just forwarded it to you. Thank you.
Sure.
That was one of the reasons I asked about the possibility that this could be on video, that people could see it afterwards. Because that could then be an interplay with our survey, depending on what, how the session goes. we could ask a survey question. It occurred to me that says, have you had a chance to listen or watch the video from the program on the 16th? What would you like to know in addition to that? And sort
Well-
of play off the program in the future is what I'm thinking in the survey.
Well, I guess those are two different samples, Marty, because the people who attend the session might be people from the community generally. They could be people from
Right.
Somerset, they could be people from Chevy Chase Village, they could be, a friend of Nathaniel's from Orkodesh or somebody from Kol Shalom. Like that we don't necessarily know if they're Martin's Editions people. Therein lies the issue. We don't know when people respond to the Martin's Edition survey if they necessarily attended the session. We could ask, have you attended the session?
That's
But
what I was thinking, Jessica, that we say, this is on video, you can go listen to it here, it's only an hour. What do you think? What else would you like to know that maybe wasn't covered in the session? You see,
Yes,
I think
but
do a
we-
tie-in.
Sure. No, I understand. The issue is that we get a very small sample size because the sample size response for people, I mean, we're maybe talking 5 people because the ends on most surveys that the village does are really small. And then you cut it down to the number of people who've responded and then the number of people who went to the session. I mean, we're just talking about maybe the opinions of 2 or 3 people. Therein lies the problem.
I see what you're saying in terms of statistics, sure. But I think that well, let's just, look at how we could possibly
Let's go
use
through
the
these
survey
questions.
as a way to encourage people to go back and watch the video if that's an option.
Let's go to the questions. Do you want to walk us through it, Jessica?
Sure. If Michael puts it up on the screen, that would be great.
It's on the screen.
Okay. Great. So, to what extent do you agree with the following statements? Please provide your opinion. Anti-Semitism is an issue in the greater DC metro area. Sentiment against Israel as a nation is anti-Semitism. Sentiment against the Israeli government is anti-Semitism. I'm concerned about potential acts of anti-Semitism occurring in Martin's Editions. In the past 10 years, anti-Semitism in the DC area has the following. Would you say that you personally have witnessed anti-Semitism in any of the following contexts? We added in unsure. That was something we wanted. Do you feel prepared to respond if you witness an act of anti-Semitism? This was something that we wanted to add in, and everything else is virtually the same except for something administrative at the bottom. Would you personally say that you've been subjected to anti-Semitism? We added an unsure. Would you say that any members of your household have personally witnessed any anti-Semitism? Unsure. Would you say that any members of your household have been subjected to anti-Semitism? Unsure. And then it's just the same as last time. I'm familiar with the following. How likely are you really going to go to events related to anti-Semitism education? How likely you're to participate in small group discussions related to anti-Semitism? That's something we added in. And then there was something about adding in optional related to being apprised of future events with our email, and then adding in below comments for the committee. And then those were all the changes that people asked me to make. So everything else has remained stable. Virtually the entire thing is stable, but for a few more responses and then one other question based on our last discussion.
It's kind of hard to respond just looking at this right now, but I want to say thank you for including the comments and suggestions that folks made last time, Dara. I especially like the comments for the committee that give us more in-depth feedback if people want to do that. That's a nice improvement. And I think I just speaking for myself, probably would need some more time than we had this evening to kind of think through and see if there's anything else. But certainly this is a good basis to go forward with, but I guess I just need more time to think it through before we actually vote on it. I don't know, Nomi, what did you want to have a vote on this tonight?
No, I actually think we have some time. We might want to wait until after our January 16th event, after which point we will probably shortly thereafter probably meet again. So we might have some time to look at it. I have a question for Arthur. To what extent do we need to plan for approval by the council, and how is this going to jive with other surveys that the council may be planning?
I don't think that we've ever pre-approved surveys. I think the committees have gone off and done it themselves. Katie, is that your impression? I don't recall ever having done. We've discussed the councils, the villages survey, but not committee ones. But one of the things to think about is what's the purpose of the survey? Is it to form policy? Is it to schedule events in the future, to do further education? Why are you giving it? Or why are you issuing the survey? What is the information that you gather going to be useful for?
So as I recall, our mission statement calls for this needs assessment to find out from our residents what programs they would like to have in the future. So is what do you need to increase your awareness, to learn how to combat, what are your beliefs really too?
Okay.
So I think this hits those notes. What my reaction here is, having had some experience with survey design, Jessica, I wonder to what extent we can combine some of those questions when you're asking people, have you personally, or have you or someone in your family witnessed anti-Semitism or experienced anti-Semitism, and combining you and or your family, does that make a difference as to what we might find out if it's not just me versus my family?
Yeah.
A way of shortening this.
I may have missed it. I know you said we have to do a survey because
Sorry.
it's required, but what is there any requirement as to what we do with this data?
No. What it does is inform us about future programs. So, for example, if people say, I have not encountered anti-Semitism, and I haven't witnessed any, that tells us something. I do think, Jessica, that your question about listing some of the events that have happened nearby, like at Chevy Chase Elementary School, I think that's going to be a wake-up call to a lot of people here, including parents whose children go to Chevy Chase Elementary School. So some of these events are once or twice or three times removed from us. And some people may or may tune into newspaper articles, but unless it happens to them, they may not have experienced it, which is, they may not have encountered it. So I'm wondering, therefore, what we can do to just consolidate those questions about whether you and your family have encountered or have experienced. Yeah.
So I know, may I hear you. So when the survey is programmed, it will be put in a box so that it's more compact and people can answer it more completely. But I think that the virtue of having it be separated by you or your household member is that we can understand the degree to which this is more pervasive. If it's both you as the respondent and then somebody else, and you say, and somebody else in my family, I'm not going to have, we're not going to list out the family members like we're conducting a census. But I think that it would really hit home. I mean, I hope this isn't the case, but if we find that both individuals who are answering the survey and somebody else with whom they reside have experienced it, that certainly says something. So I would certainly keep it separate. If you really are, I mean, and also we're right now under the questions in terms of keeping it parsimonious. So I don't see the need to change it at this point unless there's a compelling reason related to length or structure.
Michael, can you scroll down towards the end, please? I'm wondering if we have a question here, I may miss it, about, do you want asking people what they want in terms of programs or strategies to combat anti-Semitism. You know, we're asking them what they want help in. Do we have a question like that here?
We ask about whether or not they want programming, and we ask about whether or not they're interested in small group discussions, but we don't have an open-ended question about, you know, what do you want per se. I think that, you know, at
Okay.
least I from a survey design perspective, people, especially in this realm, I mean, we've had enough a hard time as a committee deciding what to do. If you ask the general public,
Right.
what do you do? They're just not going to have a single clue. I think that we have the text box in the comment section. So if somebody has a really interesting idea, I imagine that might be the place to put it. But I mean, I just
Okay.
frankly think it would be hard for a resident to independently come up on it, you know, on their own, or at least the overwhelming majority of people to have that type of insight.
Yeah. I'm thinking about, for example, parents who might need some help to learn how to discuss anti-Semitism to small children. Is that, you know, is that something they would come up with, or do we want to? Yeah.
They might, or we
Okay.
could ask a question independently. Are you concerned about having programming targeted towards young people to talk about these issues? I mean, that's a question we could add if you want, but if that's something that you think we should think about, Naomi, I think then we should add a question about it rather than, you
Yeah.
know, wonder.
If I could jump in on that, this is Marty again. You know, I teach kids, adults too, how to stop harassment and bullying. You know, all kinds of intervention techniques. There are 101 ways you can stop bigots and bullies. And techniques that are basically nonviolent and extremely effective and well tested and all that. And I love teaching kids in particular how to stand up to bullies, how to have each other's back and just shut down a bully without violence. And again, there are lots of techniques, and kids, of course, love knowing what to do because it makes them feel less helpless. There are ways to shut down a bully, whether it's anti-Semitic bullying or racist bullying or sexist bullying, whatever. And I think that those classes are a lot of fun to teach because they're so empowering for the kids. You know, 53 ways you could stop a bully. And I love teaching like third and fourth graders how to stop sixth grade
So
bullies.
where are you going with this, Marty?
Well, I'm just saying that, you know, would you like, you know, to be more specific, would you like classes or would you like some training materials or something on how to help your kids stand up to bullying, to anti-Semitic bullying, or, you know, more generally, same techniques work to stop any kind of bully. But would you like a program aimed at kids that would help your kids stand up and stop bullying or help your kids stand up for other kids? Because bystander intervention is the single most effective set of techniques to teach kids how to intervene to protect other kids.
So what does everybody else think who has kids? What is your thinking about this?
I think most parents want to talk about this issue with their kids themselves. That said, I don't have a child yet with whom can have this conversation, so I'm not necessarily the right person to comment.
Sarah, you've got kids. What do you think?
I've pretty much been laying it all on the table since mid-October with my kids, so I don't I probably need to reel in the honesty, but I'm probably not a good sample size.
Do your kids feel able to stand up to bullying?
To bullying in general or to anti-Semitism?
Both, either.
I've got one kid in Jewish day school who I think is growing confidence, and a kid in an independent school in DC who's worried about doing a fundraiser for Doctors Without Borders because she thinks people will judge her. So are they ready to stand up to bullying? Not necessarily, but I don't think that's what this committee is for.
Oh, I understand. So
I think you're right.
you're most, as a parent, I think first of all, Jess, thank you for doing this. Arthur and I know, having worked on surveys before for the community, everyone has feedback on them, and this is great. This is a great start. And I think your most powerful portion of this is where you draw attention to the local events, recent events, and you put schools' names out there. I think that's really powerful. And I think that needs to stay in this survey. I haven't seen that before in a survey, but I like this because that's that's what I'm talking with my kids about. They go to these schools, or they have been in these schools, and unfortunately, there'll be more events probably by the time you have this survey that will happen at one of these local area schools. So I think this is the most powerful example to draw attention to parents or to whoever, you know, you want your sample in the community to be. And I think, you know, that's just my opinion on it. And I think you're doing a great job with it. Just wanted to add that.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah, one of the side effects of any survey is that it does raise awareness just by being out there. We did a survey on the election committee back in the fall of 2015, asking Martin's Additions residents, you know, what kind of election format do you want? What kind of election, you know, whatever, you know, with some details. And it made people think about how you run local elections and raised awareness back then. That was like 10 years ago now, but it really was helpful and just as a community awareness device. So surveys, it's not just about us getting data or even about us planning future programming based on the responses, but about just a survey by itself as a community education tool. So again, Jessica, thank you for all the work on this.
Guy, what I'm hearing is that we could use some time in reviewing this and meet right after the January 16th event and review these questions and go forward.
It sounds to me, I mean, yes, and I should have prefaced the bullying thing, Jessica, that the survey is great. By asking like, what's the purpose of the survey? And then with Katie and Marty, I mean, I think the purpose of the survey, which the survey does, so we just need to send it out. And honestly, I think I'm missing the point why it can't just be sent tomorrow. Like, we need to raise awareness. And the survey does it because, as Katie says, it says, hey, this is happening in our schools, and that raises awareness. Like, no survey is perfect. So if that's what the purpose of the survey is to do, raise awareness, like send it out, and then more people will want to tune into the Zoom from the AJC. Like we're restricting ourselves, unless I've missed something as to why this can't go out tomorrow.
Never leave your wife in bed without reaching the final moments again. This is capable of making your member hard and big as a steel bar. It's better.
Somebody's supposed to mute themselves? Or did I?
So,
miss someone?
sorry, I was just looking up how to plant blackberries and got this ad popped up. Sorry about that.
Okay, all right. So, Michael, tell us, how realistic is this to send this out in the next week or so?
I'd also have to program it and all of that kind of thing too. So that might take me a little bit.
That's what I was just gonna say, Jess. That's exactly it. If we want to put this in a survey tool, there's several available to us. So yeah, I think what you have is a great start, and you can just plug it in there. And then if you just had a link, Jess, I could just, you know, send it out via an email. That's not hard at all.
Thank you. My nanny's out of town this week, or not here basically. So my availability is kind of limited, but if people really need it by now, I'm happy to do it. I'd love till next week, so I have my nanny back and I can do it myself because I don't have any help.
No, I think that's great. I was saying tomorrow, as in like,
Why
this
not?
seems
Why
to
wait?
be like
Yeah.
endless. It's just go when you're ready.
Okay. Sounds good.
So I would add then a plug about the January 16th event and a link.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you would need an introduction of some kind about the
Yes.
task force would like to know about your attitudes and needs, etc. And I'll leave it up to you about the language.
Yep.
And in the meanwhile, since you're giving us a few days. If anybody has any suggestions or edits, please send it directly to Jessica. And then we'll try to get it out early next week. So it'd be a good way to publicize our event.
Sounds great.
Okay. I think we're in business. So, question is, when shall we meet again? Does anybody have suggestions? I don't have a calendar in front of me, but I will get one.
Council meeting is Thursday, the 18th. Our event is on the 16th. So that's already a pretty tight week. Looking at the following week, which would be January. See, Martin Luther King Day is the 15th. Our session is the 16th. Council meeting the 18th. The next meeting night would be like Monday, the 22nd.
Monday, the 22nd. Usually Mondays have worked out well for us. So shall we try that? 8 o'clock. That's not Martin Luther King week, is it?
No, Martin Luther King Day is the 15th.
Okay.
So this is a week later.
Okay. Monday, the 22nd. I'm going to be traveling, but I am going to do my best to, here's my thinking. Just let me pause for a moment. We want to have some feedback about the event, and I don't know what Sue will have prepared or if she prepares anything. David, are you still with us? So here,
Yes,
when-
I'm still with.
when Sue and her crew do a workshop or webinar, do they do an evaluation thereafter?
I don't know.
Okay. So
When you say thereafter, do you mean in the session itself, or do you
no,
mean
no.
as kind of a survey afterwards? What do
I
you mean?
don't know if it's survey or do they do a report? Do they have some kind of a follow-up on it?
You mean internally or with the committee?
With a committee, with a group that they work with?
I imagine that she would.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to
But
suggest.
I can't speak for her, but I imagine that she would.
Okay. She's off this week, so I'm not going to pester her for a couple of days, but let's tentatively plan for the 22nd and 8 o'clock, or is it 8:30? 8:30. And we'll, unless any of you object, let's settle for that date for now. And I will confirm it with you after I speak with her in case there's something that we can learn from from her experience, what she gleaned from our January 16th event. And if she thinks there'll be value for her to join us at that meeting.
Sounds good, Naomi.
Does that make sense?
I like that idea. I did want to ask about approving the survey before it goes out. Do we need to have some kind of committee sign off on this survey amongst ourselves before it goes out? You talked about people giving Jessica some edits, but I think the committee probably procedurally ought to sign off on the overall final version before it goes public.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the mechanism for that is.
So I would say that if you have any edits for Jessica in the next couple of days, say by Friday the 5th, are you gonna be working on this weekend, Jessica?
I probably will work on it Monday when my nanny comes back.
Okay.
And then have it ready to have sent to Michael by end of day Monday, as long as he's back. So, I will send out the last version of it probably Friday, like unless I get some significant changes and I'll review them. But I can send out the link for the group to test if they want to test it, and then I'm happy to have people check it. That would be a great way to do it, actually, would be I can say, I'm sending the link to everybody, please test it, and go from there.
Okay, so
I
you'll be
was more
doing that.
concerned about approving the content of the survey.
No,
Having
we
the
could do all,
task
we
force
could do
approve the
all of it.
content before it goes public
Marty, we could do all of it at the same time on the 8th.
on the 8th. Okay, so everybody needs to get their comments back to you before the 8th so that you can give us the final version to look at by the 8th, right? And then everybody needs to send you an email saying, good, looks good to me, I approve, because you would need a majority of the task force to approve the survey before it goes live.
Sure, I'm happy to do whatever people want in that respect.
Okay, so you're gonna be ready, you're gonna get feedback from everybody this week, anybody that wants to give a feedback. And then on Monday, you're gonna work on it and send it to us Monday, end of day. And we are going to approve it by Tuesday.
Yes, through using the link and by going through the process so that it's being validated that it works.
Right,
And if somebody
And
has an
that's-
issue with it, we can
Right.
try to resolve it at that point.
okay. So by the end of Tuesday, we're all gonna give you any problems. We've already given you our edits, and we're going to say we approve one way or the other. So Michael and Aaron will get it by Wednesday morning, the 10th.
Okay, and if it's a link, I can send it out as a standalone email as well as in the wrap up for that week, which I believe is the 12th.
Thank
Good.
you, Michael.
Okay, all right. And we want to give people what, 2 weeks to respond?
Yes, I think that's reasonable.
Okay, so if they get it on the 10th or the 11th, then we want them to respond by the 25th or the 26th. Let's do 26th, Friday the 26th. And by then they will have been informed about the event on the 16th.
Naomi, can I make a suggestion? If we're gonna
Sure.
get the survey results by the 26th, we probably ought to move our meeting to the 29th so we can talk about the survey as well as the event.
That's a thought. That is definitely a thought. There's no hurry for us to meet again until we are ready to make our future plans.
Yes, I'll need time to tabulate the results though, and I just don't know what my schedule is going to be like in terms of like 72 hours. You know, I'm sorry, I have a lot of commitments. Could I have a week, maybe 2 weeks to tabulate the results? I'm gonna, put it into a statistical analysis software. We might also not even get a statistically significant sample size. Like, a week
Okay.
would be great. I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, so if we get if the survey is done by the 26th, then you would need until, can you do it by February 5th?
Yeah, Monday, February 5th would be the following Monday. That's like 2 weeks, 10 days.
That would be fine. I'm happy to do it then.
Okay, so we'd get it from you by the 5th and we can meet, what, on the 6th?
I can't meet on February 6th. I can do the 5th.
We could meet on the 5th and I could just tell people the results in vivo. And,
Okay.
Send out the results at that point.
Okay. Monday, the 5th it is.
Okay, so our next meeting is not the 22nd of January, but is going to be February 5th at 8:30.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. David?
I'm gonna have to run. I apologize, but
That's okay. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate
Okay.
you.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, any other business, guys?
Motion to adjourn.
Anybody second?
I'll second.
Wow, 9:43, we did it. Okay. Everybody say yes?
Yes.
Any
Yes.
objections?
Any opposed? No?
No, thank
Okay.
you.